Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the late. Here are the headlines for the news from Djibouti Channel. The work of the third China-Africa summit continues in Beijing. And on the other side, signing of a memorandum of understanding between the port of Djibouti and China Merchant Group. On the continental news, Trump calls Damascus and his allies to not carry out an offensive against Idlib. So that were our top stories in this edition. In addition to the Chinese leader, several African heads of state and government, including the President of the Republic, Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, took part in this summit. This China summit was the bed of fundamental interventions, formally declining the new course to be followed for both orders in their cooperation. At the end of the successes which lead to the first phase of this sustained collaboration, which extend over a period of more than 10 years, the pursuit of win-win partnership, the collaborations around an efficient industrializations of Africa, the realization of a full integrations of the Black Continent in the Chinese project of the new Silk Road constitute, among other things, the objective of the cooperations even more ambitious between them, that the two parties are not fixed. The Republic of Djibouti, which is represent at the high level in China, Africa, in this case Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, was praised on an almost individual scale during this forum. It's propensity to be in phase with all previous that require the fructifications of China-Africa partnership was welcomed during this forum. Achievement recorded as an extension of its strategic partnership with China, including the electric train and high ports, were directly discussed during the China-Africa forum. The President delivered a speech in which he praised the role of China, now a real locomotive of the world economic, proved that it was concerned about the future of the African continent to become promising, given China's ambitious to respect and support inclusive growth and development based on the specific needs of local community. Let's listen to the entirety of the speech of the President.
This FOCAC summit carries the banners of a sovereign, pacific and solidary Africa alongside a one and indivisible China, pledged of the building of a Sino-African community encouraged by a win-win dynamic. We are pleased to take part in this platform of discussions and exchanges that strengthens our Sino-African partnership and improves our development strategies. China, now a real driving force of the world's economy, has proved that it is concerned about the future of the African continent to be promising, given China's ambition to respect and support inclusive growth and development based on the specific needs of local communities. Indeed, with this friendly country, we feel listened to, heard and support. Our partnership, as strong as it is committed, is based on a development economy that encourages the construction of transport infrastructure and strengthen regional integration, which ultimately has a positive impact on our lives of communities, on the lives of communities. Djibouti, like African countries, is subject to an infrastructure deficit. Thanks to our partnership with China, the last decades has seen the completion of major project on the developments of ports, rail and road infrastructure in order to facilitate market access in the regions and increase trade. Today we can proudly declare that the records of the previous China-Africa summits is largely positive in terms of added values and visibility. It is when confidence is established that trade and investments prosper, because on both sides we are assured that the commitment made will be respected. That's what brings us here today. Through the plans of action and the Beijing Declaration, this summit will allow us to continue our drive towards sustainable development and intrinsically associating the 2030 Agenda of the United Nations, the 2063 Agenda of the African Union and our own strategies. It represents, in fact, a favorable situation for the enlargements of the dimensions of the Sino-African cooperation and its deepening. In addition, We welcome China's establishment discussion platform to promote high-level discussions between African and Chinese intellectuals in order to exchange and share in a spirit of conviviality and constructive criticism, and this in all key areas of development. This dynamic undoubtedly facilitates the achievements of common objectives through the sharing of know-how, good practices, technology transfer, and frank communication. Africa, ladies and gentlemen, is in search of emergence. We have the resource and the need. We offer opportunities, but these opportunities will not be useless without peace and strong political stability, the only pillars on which all major projects with high economic and social potential are based. That is why I appeal to your collective conscience to face in a united way in any threat that could undermine our security and stability. China, through the Belt and Road initiatives, is naturally positioned as a world leader in the globalization of a borderless trade. This forum, we are convinced, will give a boost to economies along with the Belt and Road by streamlining trade flows in record time, exploiting the strengths of each, and thereby stimulate intercultural exchanges worldwide. In this regard, Djibouti has the ambition to become an economic and commercial platform through the Belt and Road initiative, serving as a gateway to this millenary trade route, and intends in this sense to develop trade with the East African sub-region of IGAD and the COMESA bloc, which comprise 19 countries, 9 of which are landlocked. In conclusion, I would like to close my remark wishing the success of the cooperation between China and Africa. Thank you for your attention.
The president of the Chamber of Trade, Mr. Moussa Dawali, expressed his satisfaction with this meeting between the African heads of state. He stressed that this meeting is an opportunity for exchange with the leaders of African countries to advance in different areas, but also a chance to exchange the ways and means to strengthen collaborations and partnership with China. As part of the meeting on the sideline of the summit on the Forum of Sino-African Cooperation, the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, met with many delegations from different companies such as China Merchant Shiku Holdings, led by the Chief Executive, Mr. Lian Chang, and the other companies is China Civil Energy Construction Company, such as, but also the professor who made many research about Djibouti. The meeting between the head of state and the head of China Merchant was mainly focused on the achievement of this group that has been in Djibouti since 2011, as well as the future infrastructure development project in our country. Mr. Lian Jinhong told President Guelleh of the entire satisfaction of his group with regard to the various projects he is conducting in Djibouti. We have remarkable successes thanks to your support, Mr. Liad said. The latter also returned to the proposal of the head of state to set up a business center China East Africa, and asked the President of the Republic that this center is housed within the new free zone of Djibouti. The Minister of Energy expressed also his satisfaction at this meeting between the head of state and the group working. He added that the President and the CEO of China Merchant Group discussed the ways and means of consolidating the benefits and the advantages that our country offers for more investment. For the other side, the Director of Electricity of Djibouti expressed his satisfaction with the meeting between the head of state and the director of the company of China. He added that these meetings were an opportunity to talk about Djibouti's opportunity to attract investment. For their part, the director of this company, who have realized several large projects in Djibouti, such as the train project, expressed their wishes to carry out other projects in our country. On the other side, the president of the Authority of Port and Free Zone, Mr. Abu Bakr Omar Hadi, signed with the CEO of China Merchant a memorandum of understanding between the Port of Djibouti and China Merchant Group on the transformation of the old port into a modern city. According to the president of the Authority of the Port and Free Zone, Mr. Abu Bakr Omar Hadi, who initiated the memorandum of understanding, the works will begin the first year of 2019 and go to proceed in 6 stages to arrive at a complete realizations between 7 and 8 years. The Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mr. Mohammed Abu Bakr Musa, carried out an inspection visit on the national road to see firsthand the deteriorations caused by torrential rain that fell in our country. He was accompanied by the Director of Djiboutian Agency of Road and some senior executives of the Minister of Equipment and Transport. Following the degradation, the Djibouti Agency of Road is currently carrying out rehabilitations work on damaged road art works located at PK 51, precisely at the conjunctions connecting the National Road 1 and the National Road 10, which lead to the city of Tajura. This axis is doubly important. It connects the capital and the northern region, the city of Tajura and Obakh. Then the minister visited another work in Wea, which was slightly affected by the rise of flows after finding. He asked to carry out operations of unblocking the curve to facilitate soon the flow of the water. And now let's move to the continental news. The humanitarian crisis in Lake Chad remains engraved.
The recent progress, 10 million people in the country of the Lake Chad Basin region need daily life support, as senior UN officials warned on Monday. There is still a great humanitarian crisis, said United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs Coordinator Mark Lowcock on the first day of the Lake Chad High-Level Conference in Berlin, Germany. Humanitarian action in the Lake Chad Basin, this region straddling Cameroon, Nigeria and Chad, is not easy. Many areas remain inaccessible due to the activities of the Boko Haram insurgents, said the OCHA chief. For Lowcock, at the head of this humanitarian crisis is a crisis of protection, citing the many kidnappings, killings, the use of children as human bomb, sexual and gender-based violence.
In Syria, Russian aviation bombed the province of Idlib.
Ship pumping repelled parts of southern Syria late Saturday for the first time since procuring a ceasefire there nearly a year ago. A military group say as earlier reaching troops prepare a ground assault. Southern Syria is a strategic prize for local and global players involved in the country's coveted 7-year war. After securing the capital Damascus, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad appears keen to recapture the southern province of Dara and Sweda, still mostly held by rebels.
Here we arrive at the end of our news. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.